I'm so nervous. Don't forget to do the visual aid over here too. It's gonna be 30 seconds. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I know it's a little bit early and it's Father's Day, so thank you so much for being here. Today, I'm going to be talking about conflict in the work environment. So conflict is kind of inevitable. Wherever you work, somebody's always going to have a different perspective on something. And while we all have the same goals, the details aren't always the same. So there is going to be a conflict at some point. So today, I'm going to talk about how I personally deal with it, while I've also done some research to see the experts and how they deal with resolving conflict. So first, to break the ice, I would just like to show you a quick clip from The Office. I thought this would be appropriate.
Okay, so this is the disputed poster. Now, one at a time, I want you to express your feelings using I emotion language and no you statements.
I got this poster for Christmas, and I feel I want to see it every day. It makes me feel like the babies are the true artists, and God has a really cute sense of humor.
Come on, seriously, Dan. I don't like looking at it. It's creepy and in bad taste, and it's just offensive to me. It makes me think of...
Yeah.
Yes, so this clip, obviously there's a conflict here, and Michael, the boss man, doesn't exactly handle it professionally, so we're not really going to see the results, but he did suggest listening, which is my first step, is to listen. So that kind of just jumps into my first overall step. So the 3 steps, which I should state first, is to listen, obviously, to diagnose and to empathize, and lastly, to conclude, which will eventually resolve your conflict, hopefully. So let's jump into the first step, listening. Everybody likes to be heard. Nobody on this earth wants to say something or verbally communicate and not be heard or be interrupted. So it's very important to just be calm, relaxed, especially if somebody is being confrontational with you, whether it's a customer or a coworker, because I deal with both on a daily basis. So listening, actually, if I want to add some sources here, Strategies of Resolving Conflict, Brock and South, the art of listening is what they would call it. Again, to de-escalate the situation, listening is very key. Remaining calm and rational, to respond in a positive way. So I know your first instinct is to jump at somebody and say, oh my gosh, like why are you coming at me? But the best thing to gather all the facts and to just kind of put yourself in their shoes, which takes us to our next step, which is to diagnose. If you collect all those facts and you get their perspective, it's a lot easier to shape a resolution and to just kind of conclude in that sense. So that brings us to step 2, McGrill, how to ease conflict, experience greater harmony at work, better self-understanding can lessen tension with coworkers. That is the title, I swear, of the article. So he notes the main idea of that article was to focus on the facts of the situation, as I just stated. So when you're listening, go to your next step and just focus on the facts. So there's going to be the actual facts of the information, of the situation, the actual facts of the situation. There's going to be their point of view, and there's going to be your point of view. So you have to take all of those things into consideration when you are listening, and then you are going to diagnose. So after you've put yourself into their shoes, you can kind of just say, okay, I have listened to them, and now I can diagnose what the actual problem is. So an example of that would be with your coworker. For example, Sally is taking my Monday shift, and I absolutely cannot have that. Like, Sally is just PO'd that Anna, myself, tried to take her Monday shift. And she comes at me and says, well, why are you trying to do this, and this? And she's very confrontational. So I sit here, I listen, and you can even apologize. This is a coworker. You say, hey, I had no idea that you felt this way. Thank you for talking to me. Let me listen to you. So what the actual problem is Sally says, well, I have rent that I have to pay, and I usually work Mondays. So I say, I also have rent to pay. I am really sorry about that. I will try to get a different shift. Or that kind of steps into the third step. But anyways, that's just an example. So into our third step, we are looking at resolving. So in our third step, there are 3 different ways to resolve. There is, according to, oops, that's the wrong, sorry about that. According to Wall, there are 3 ways to solve, or 3 solutions that you can use, and they are to collaborate, to compromise, and to accommodate. My personal favorite, whereas it's a win-win situation, is the collaboration. So you can say, like me and Sally, I can say, okay, well, I'll take Tuesdays if you take Mondays. So we both win. We both get shifts to work, and we both make money. The compromise is you give, I give, which is not very favorable because you're both giving something to benefit the other person. While you're benefiting the other person, it's okay. Like, you're still resolving the situation. But then the best is always you win, I win, because nobody has to give up anything. If you're like me and you want to avoid conflict at all costs, you do the accommodation. So it's the I lose, you win type deal. So if I really need to work Monday and Sally really needs to work Monday, but I really don't want to have conflict with Sally, I can say, okay, Sally, you can have your Monday shift. I won't tread on your territory. So Sally is getting the shift, I don't get the shift, I don't make money, but I don't have conflict with Sally. So that's kind of the trade-off. So in conclusion, you kind of acquire these skills with practice. It is always good to just listen, diagnose, and to finally conclude. And otherwise, I mean, you just really have to think about being nice to people. You have to remember that they are coming from different cultures, religions, ethnicities, ages. And that's all I got for you today. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
What do you do if you can't resolve?
Well, if you can't resolve with a coworker on your own, so like let's say that me and Sally, we're just coworkers. I'm not a manager. I'm an extension of the management team where I work, but in the scenario with me and Sally, we're just coworkers. There's going to be a manager. So if you feel like you can't resolve a problem, there are managers who are trained to solve these problems by saying, okay, well, I'm going to give you every other Monday. So Sally, you can have your Monday shift. And then Anna, you can have your Monday shift every other Monday, and you can switch off like that. So somebody else will solve the problems. But this is for like a smaller scale. Like usually it's just with small details that you have conflict, but there's always somebody who's like a higher up. So if you feel like you're being treated unfairly, there's usually a telephone number. Yeah. Does anybody else have questions? No? We're good?
We're
Yeah.
good.